Attention everybody, the views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, here's the man with the plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Good morning everybody out there in Acts viewership land. Hope all's well. It's been an interesting week, as we've said before. It just seems like every day gets better and better. And actually, here in Southwest Missouri today, it's going to be fantastic. I looked at the weather. It's supposed to get up to 70. There's only a 10% chance for any precipitation, so it should be a good one. Hopefully there's no storms in our future and so forth. And I apologize. I kind of got in here and started chatting with Steve McAllister over here. You know Steve, and Jason and Matt, and all of a sudden it was 9 o'clock. So bear with me just a second here. I'm going to get this going. Oh, we got to get on the internet. There we go.
That helps.
Okay. So anyway, one of the things I've got, I'm really excited about this morning, is I've got an interview I want to play for us with a gentleman named Alex Mashinsky. And, I don't know how many billionaires there are in the world these days, but he's one of them. He's north of 3 billion at least. And he's got a really interesting story as far as how he got there. And I've got an interview that he has done here recently that isn't too long, but it's very, very informative. And some of the things that he gets asked and his answers are things that I think we, or you as my audience, us, need to hear, because, I mean, the guy is phenomenal. He's had 9 different companies that he has started that have gone public and so forth, and then his exit is over 3 billion, 199 million here and 2.2 billion here, but, things like Square. If you've ever bought something from somebody who uses Square to swipe your card through, that was one of his. And Etsy. I was reading the list of companies off to my wife this morning, and she was like, "He started Etsy?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's Etsy?" And she started telling me about it and stuff. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's kind of neat." But let's do this first, just because you know me. If you're a viewer that's tuned in before, I kind of like to get into the stewardship course first, just because I think it keeps me grounded and so forth. This one we're doing right now is called the Money Series, and I think we did the very first one last week of this, and so this week we're going to do number 2. And number 2, oh, that's right, because remember it was so long. Okay, so let me go through this real quick, and then we'll move on to some other things. We'll get the interview going here in a moment. Day 2, what is money? Money, what comes to mind when you think of money? Maybe you think of how you don't have enough. Maybe you hate it, love it. Think of something you want to buy. Think of greedy people or someone who is poor financially. Immediately change the topic because you hate talking about it. Feel excited at the thought of having money. Think of Las Vegas or the lottery. Maybe you think of someone who has ruined their life because of money. Many of us think a million different things about money as soon as it is mentioned. Most of the time, it's something about our personal experience with money. As I learned some principles about money from the Bible, I had to start with the very beginning about the thought of money. What is it? Why do we even have it? Have you ever actually thought about that? The short answer is this: money is a tool God gives us to accomplish His purposes. How did we get to that conclusion and definition of money? Keep reading. I understand everyone who is reading this may not follow Jesus, and that's okay. But for those who do follow Jesus, we are called to be stewards of what God has given us. A steward is someone who takes care of someone else's possessions. So then it begs the question, who possesses money? Who is in charge of it? The answer is God. Even if you don't follow Jesus today, I'd encourage you to read on and consider who is ultimately in charge of money. How much of what we have is God's? That's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, I think the answer is pretty simple, but behold, to the Lord your God belong heaven and the heaven of heavens, the earth with all that is in it. Deuteronomy 10:14. Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. Psalm 24:1. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all that moves in the field is mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is fullness are mine. Its fullness are mine. Psalm 50:10 through 12. The heavens are yours, the earth also is yours, the world and all that is in it, you have founded them. Psalm 89:11. Then what does the Bible have to say about stewardship and money? Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. That's Proverbs 19:17. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required. Luke 12:48. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. And that's 1 Timothy 6:9 through 10. Instruct those who are rich to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19. Keep your life free from love of money, and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. No one can serve two masters. We've heard that before. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Matthew 6:24. In all things I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how he himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And that's Acts 20:35. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Proverbs 22:7. And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. Everything belongs to God, and his money is a tool he gives us to accomplish his purposes. How much importance does God put on what we do with his possessions? Consider the parable of the talents in Matthew 25:14 through 30. The background of this story is found in Matthew 24:3, when the disciples were asking Jesus, what's it going to be like when you come back? And Jesus responds in the next two chapters in Matthew 24 and 25. In this parable, he talks about how the master goes away, gives his servants money, and then comes back, has everyone give an account. And to the one who did nothing with the money, that person is called wicked and lazy. I don't know if you remember that story, but that's kind of an amazing story. Are you out of here?
Yes.
Thanks, Steve. We'll see you later. Let's talk later today or tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. Steve McAllister's leaving the building. Okay, whose money did the servants have? The master's. Why did they have the money? To their ability further the master's plans. What happened when the master returned? They gave an account. All we have is his. All we earn is for him and his purposes. And he's going to want to know what we did with it when he returns. Faithful in little, faithful in much principle. In Luke 16:10 through 13, we see there's a general biblical principle that teaches that when you are faithful in little, you'll be faithful in much. Likewise, if you're unfaithful in little, you'll be unfaithful in much. The little here in Luke 16 is money and possessions. The much here in Luke 16 is our relationship with the Lord himself. What does, if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, mean? It reinforces that what we have isn't ours to begin with. It isn't ours to begin with. What does who will give you that which is your own mean? It means God isn't going to give us more of himself if we haven't taken care of things like money and possessions, himself being much and the money and possessions being little. This means that getting our finances in order is one of the most important things we should do spiritually after choosing to follow Jesus and committing our lives to him. Okay, let me reread that because I think that's kind of important there. This means that getting our finances in order is one of the most important things we should do spiritually after choosing to follow Jesus and committing our lives to Him. Don't miss this point. I knew it was important. I didn't get this for a long time, and not only have I not seen it is true, but I believe it would have made an earlier difference in my life if I understood it. Hallelujah. So it looks like the courses in this particular stewardship training are going to be longer than some we've done in the past, but boy, oh boy, was that powerful. And, you know, it, I think, means that you have to take care of those little things, and until you can do so, you're probably not going to be trusted with the larger things, which, you know, it gets back to, I think it was Jim Whining. I can't remember for sure, but there was somebody here recently that was talking about, you know, money is neutral. Money is neutral. It's not evil. It's not, you know, a sin or anything like this, but it's what you do with the money. So if you do love the money to the point where you exclude, you know, Jesus and God, and the money is who you're basically worshiping and so forth, then yeah, there's a problem. But if you look at it as an opportunity to show God's omnipotence and to help those in need, either through your tithing, your contributions to a ministry like Acts, or, you know, to a foundation or to a nonprofit organization, you know, it just sounds like you are not going to be entrusted with much more. So anyway, without getting too far on my soapbox there and stuff, I just thought that was an interesting lesson, and hopefully you agree. I like these stewardship courses. Like I said, it keeps me grounded and kind of gets my mind thinking in the right order for the rest of the show, which we have a few good things here, and I want to see if I can get this interview I told you about going here. I might have a little difficulty just because I realized I kept my ear microphone on, so at first I may have to alter this. Let me just see if I can get this going.
Stocks have been rising, but what are the sectors that investors should be watching out for the most? Here to talk about the tech landscape and the changing business environment is Alex Mashinsky, CEO of Celsius Network and the inventor of voice over IP technology. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David, for having us. Great to be on Kitco.
During this pandemic, we're seeing an increase in surge in users of online delivery and online goods. Of course, most people are paying for those goods in fiat currencies. Can you expect this to change in the future where people are ordering with Bitcoin and other coins as well?
So anyone who ordered anything in Bitcoin is sorry for it, right? Bitcoin has appreciated by 9 million% in the last 10 years. So if you take the world's record holder on the Wall Street, which is Netflix, it did 4,000% in the last 10 years, right? So probably the worst thing you can do is to use your Bitcoin to pay for your Uber or to pay for your DoorDash or whatever else you need, right? So Bitcoin is an exceptional store of value, but it is a horrible form of payment. And the US dollar is the opposite of that. The US dollar is an exceptional form of payment, but is a horrible store of value because it's losing 3-4% of its value every year. So the purpose of the Bitcoin is really just to help you to become non-correlated to the underlying fiat currency that runs the world, right? The reserve currency of the planet. And I would definitely not recommend for people to use Bitcoin or Ethereum for that purpose. Tether or USDC or other stable coins, which are effectively pegged or denominated in dollars, are probably a much better choice. But most merchants, most vendors today do not accept stable coins. So those are used more to increase the velocity of money for trading, settlement, and payments on the blockchain, but not off the blockchain.
You've mentioned that Bitcoin is an excellent store of value. If that's the case, why haven't we seen prices rally over the last few months during the quarantine?
Yeah, that is true. The community is still very small, right? And it is a very good store of value, but it's very volatile. And we went through 4 waves of adoption. It started with the anarchists, and then the libertarians, and then the speculators, and now we're waiting for this institutional wave of adoption. Part of it we've seen with like Paul Tudor Jones, for example, joining the party, and Fidelity and other people. But the mass adoption, the hundreds of millions of people or billions of people who, for example, are using VoIP and are not using MOIP, are not using money over IP, they have not joined yet, right? Because we have not made it easy for them to use that for store of value or to use that for payments. So we're still missing stuff in the piping. We got to finish the technology, and we got to finish the user interface to make it real simple. And when we have all of that done, people will look back 10 or 20 years from now and say, wow, you know, I wish I jumped on this thing at 2020, you know, or 2025, right? But it takes much longer than most people think, right? And look at Voice of IP. Voice of IP, I wrote the patents in 1994. And people, if you look at the most successful Voice of IP company, WhatsApp, it only started 10 or 15 years later. So the success story sometimes take a long time for adoption, right? It's not something that happens overnight.
Alex, you're also a venture capitalist. How would you characterize investor sentiment in the markets right now, specifically public equities? And we've seen the NASDAQ and tech stocks in particular really do very well over the last few months, whereas the S&P 500 has declined more than 10% year to date. Why is it that tech is, you know, outperforming during this recession when it was really the opposite last time?
Yeah, so I think Wall Street, helped by the Fed put a floor under the market, is basically picking the winners and the losers. And basically the companies that fuel the future, which is after Corona, basically you're going to have companies that had to do with face-to-face things like hotels or airlines or restaurants, all suffer. And at the same time, companies that accelerate the digital future are basically the winner who takes all. And Wall Street is basically saying, we're taking all the money from these asset classes and we're moving them to the FANGs or to the winners. Mm-hmm. And when you have the Fed put, meaning the Fed is basically standing there and saying, if I have to, I will buy stocks. I'm already buying bonds. I'm already buying corporate bonds. I'm going to do whatever it takes to support this market. You're seeing animal spirits come back and people not paying any attention to valuations. Just to make a point, April was the highest on record in history in new debt issuing, right? So about 300 billion of new debt was issued in April to companies who also have equities in the stock market, right? And those equities continue to go up when the balance sheet of these companies have added tremendous amount of debt to the balance sheet. Usually what happens is when you add that much debt, the equity shrinks. But we are living in abnormal times where basically there's so much liquidity and so much money chasing these few assets that the few winners are getting all the spoils, right? And if you're a investment grade company and you can raise debt, investors are saying, I'm not just buying the debt, I'm also buying the equity because the winner is going to take it all.
Yeah, Alex, we've seen also the Fed really inject an unprecedented amount of liquidity and stimulus. How do you feel about this? Is this a policy that you support?
Something had to be done, but just to put things in perspective, the Fed printed more money or added more assets to the balance sheet in the last month than it did in 100 years of existence.
Wow.
So obviously there are consequences to that. You don't just print $3 or $4 trillion and nothing happens. So when the government reports consumer price index or CPI, that does not include the inflation of money. And what we're seeing right now is tremendous inflation of money that is hidden from us. It's like the invisible hand. No one can see that, right? And what that does, it debase your currency. You still go to work, you still earn the same amount of money, but it's now worth 20% less because the Fed just added 20% more dollars into circulation, right? And all of that is not good for us long term. What we're really doing is we're borrowing from the future. We're reaching out to the future. We're borrowing from our children, spending it today to save our lifestyle and our level of income. And we're leaving the IOU to our children. And instead of investing that in the future, investing in an infrastructure or rebuilding our supply chain away from China and other places, we are lifting all boats. So we are saving the airlines. We are saving the hotel companies. We're saving anyone who needs saving, despite the fact that we have a process for that called bankruptcy, right? Most people don't lose their job during bankruptcy. It's a question of who owns the company that changes, right? It goes from the shareholders to the bondholders. My point is just the punchline is that yes, the Fed and the government are doing what's necessary. It's just that they're spending the dollars in the wrong places.
So in light of this, what should investors be doing to protect their wealth? Should they be looking at gold, Bitcoin, bonds? What are the safe haven assets that you would recommend right now?
So before Corona, if you told somebody 5% gold and maybe 1% Bitcoin, they thought you were crazy, right? Right now, after Corona and after 36 million people unemployed, I would say 25% gold and 5% Bitcoin. Remember, gold may appreciate 10 times its value, but Bitcoin may appreciate 100 times its value. So you need that counterweight to all of your other assets, because most people don't think about it, but your bonds, your stocks, your real estate, most of your income is dollar denominated. So unless you have a counterweight, in case I'm right, and the debasement of the currency is going to cause deflation and then superinflation, you're not going to have anything to save you, right? All of your assets are going to lose a lot of their value. So I think much more gold and much more Bitcoin.
Finally, Alex, I know you've invested in over 60 startups yourself. How do you see the startup community change over the course of the next few months or potentially years going into the future? How has the coronavirus pandemic changed the way entrepreneurs think about business today?
It's a great question. I have a very strong opinion about this. I think that the coronavirus basically popped the debt bubble, and it changed our economy forever. Meaning the packing order, the success stories, the winners of the past are not the winners of the future. Because what we need going forward in this new economy, where we all remote, where social distancing is the way we live our lives, is completely different than the past. And the winners, the opportunity is for every one of the people who are in the current economy to transform themselves to be the winners in the new economy. And that's really what most people have to understand, that yes, the coronavirus is horrible, the virus can kill any one of us, but it's also a huge opportunity. And every one of us has to revisit their skill set and see, how do I take my best skill set and apply them in this new environment and make myself a winner, right? There's never been a better time to revisit or reinvent everything we do, because all of our social construct, all of the stuff we do every day is going to change. And that's the opportunity for entrepreneurs, for innovators, to figure it out and do it, for example, using AI or machine learning or blockchain, and build the future with those tools.
How do you think business models for startups could potentially change following this pandemic?
So we're going through a tectonic shift here because after Corona, basically, most VCs realized that the idea or the model of Uber or WeWork or Airbnb, where you can just basically subsidize your growth, is no longer valid. Today, if you're in the right space, if you're in biotech, you can raise all the money you want. But if you're in tech, you have to show organic growth. You have to show organic adoption, and you have to be in something that empowers the remote learning or remote interactions that we all have to go through these days. So it's really, are you in the right bucket? Are you showing adoption? And then you would still be raising smaller rounds, but at least you have access to capital. A lot of the older models are probably not going to get additional funding. They're all going through restructuring, and you're already seeing jobs being cut in Silicon Valley and other places.
Great thoughts, Alex Mashinsky, and thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. We'll have more for you, so stay tuned.
All righty. Well, I hope you stayed with me there. I know sometimes listening to an interview like that, over a radio or a simulcast to YouTube or whatever, is a little daunting and so forth. But, I heard that this morning, and I thought, I've got to share that with the audience, because, that interview covered so many things so quick and so concise that I thought it was just important for us to kind of get into there. And I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody credit here that needs to get credit. We got Alex Mashinsky, that's Mashinsky, and
Stocks have been
David
rising,
Lynn.
but what are the sectors that investors should be watching?
David Lynn is the associate producer at Kitco News. Their normal reporter is out on maternity leave. She just had twins, and so we send her good wishes. Everybody's healthy and so forth. But the key things there, I think, that I wanted to make sure we all kind of had on the table, so to speak, is it is a new economy. In fact, one of the things I'm working on, and I'm almost completed, is the new economy wealth strategy. And as you might imagine, with a show that talks about alternative assets, some of that's going to be gold and silver and the other metals. And you heard Alex say that prior to the pandemic, some people were like 5%. I've actually always thought, from what I've read, 5 to 10% in gold and silver, and maybe 1% in Bitcoin. But now he's saying, with everything that's happened, the cornerstone of a portfolio would be 25% in gold and 5% in Bitcoin. And let me make it clear, with that just being said, that may not be for everybody. I mean, I can't make a blanket, or he can't make a blanket, comment and, expect that everybody's going to fall in line or has the wherewithal. So, it's always best to go through a financial plan or a needs analysis with an advisor. If you've got an advisor, sit down with them, see where you're at, and so forth. If you don't, you're always welcome to give me a shout. I just want to read you the companies that Mr. Alex Mashinsky has brought to the market. There we go, Alex Mashinsky. Perfect, there we go, it came up. Okay, so back in 2013, there was a company called SFX, and he raised $127 million, and when he exited, it was $1.04 billion. Tumblr, you've probably all heard of Tumblr, another home run, 120% IRR. Transit Wireless, a 97% IRR. IRR stands for internal rate of return. Telex, 88%. Square, remember I mentioned Square prior to the interview, 84%. Etsy, the one my wife likes. Arbanet. Yext, Y-E-X-T, 42%. On Deck, 35%. And DoubleClick, 20%. So a nice run there as far as, of the companies that he's done VC with, their success and so forth. I just saw Matt enter the studio, and then he left the studio. Now he's re-entered the studio. I was thinking, if I could get Matt's attention, we could probably do one of our Matt public service announcements.
Yeah, we can do that. Let me move the camera for the folks who get to see my face. Okay, so as you all know, we have a telethon coming up starting the 1st of June. And the 1st of June is a Monday, and we are doing our planning that day, organizing, getting the final touches, And then we got an event Monday, an event Tuesday, and an event Wednesday. Today's topic that I'm going to talk about real quick, let me pull up my website here. You can find all this information on axmediagroup.com, and there's also an entry form you can copy and paste there, fill out, and send in, or fill it out on some way, like a Word deal, and email it to me at PearsonMatthew622@gmail.com. So Wednesday, June 3rd, we got two things going on that day. We have a talent show contest. Each person who enters, we wanted at the most, I believe, about 4 minutes. If it goes a little over, that's okay. And when you vote, you go online to axmediagroup.com to our donate now, and there's a for section whenever you're donating, and you can put what your vote, like for, and then you put the name of the person you're voting for, whatever you're voting for, and then $1 equals one vote. And of course, they will be an award pending a $50 minimum in donations before the awards. 25% of the donations go as an award to the person who wins. So we have the talent show contest, and that could be singing, dancing. We got some people that are going to be doing a little tap dancing. I've never done that before up here, so it's going to be interesting. And, puppets and, what have you. As long as you don't have to, if you can do it within, underneath the roof here, you're good. No drums, though, because it's going to be early in the morning, and I'm pretty sure our neighbors won't like drums pounding while they're trying to get their morning coffee going. Then we also have the best show or program contest, and that is for a 1 to 3 minute clip. Of course, we have 8 entry slots for each one of these competitions, and that'll be one of our shows that we have on Axe Media Group. We need a 1 to 3 minute clip of that show. So pick out the show you want, download it, and tell me the times that you want played on it, as far as from such and such to such and such, and that's the part of the show that you like the most. We'll play it, and then there's voting, and the voting goes until midnight Wednesday. It goes until midnight Wednesday night. Tuesday morning. Well, it'd be Wednesday into Thursday morning. So midnight is when it stops. So we're real excited about this. It's going to be, like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are the actual deals. And tomorrow, on our other shows, we'll talk about the things that are going on that Thursday, June 4th. But if you want to see what all's going on as far as that's concerned, go to axemediagroup.com and read everything there about Axe Fest coming up in July. And, of course, if you want to just donate, you can go there to our Donate Now page. As little as $1 and as much as you want. You can have it come out once or once a month, whichever you prefer. And you can become monthly partners with us. So, without any further talking, back to you, Tony.
Thank you, Matt. I've always said if you're not working with the ministry, I think you would like Axe, and if you are already working with Axe, stay the course. They've got some good things going on and some ministries under their umbrella that help veterans, and a couple others that are just doing some really nice work. And doing exactly what today's reading in the devotional said, which is taking care of some of the small stuff before, the big stuff is there. And so they're doing an excellent job in some of these areas, and just think it would be prudent to take a look. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to really quick kind of finish up on the Alec Mashinsky interview. A couple things that he said. I don't know if you caught it, but he was talking just in the last month. The Fed has created more money than all the time before. I mean, we're talking like trillions of dollars, and what that does is that diminishes the purchasing value of our dollars before the pandemic by, I think he said something like 20%. So, it's probably not wise to keep very much in cash or in a bank. Banks serve their purpose, don't get me wrong. I kind of prefer credit unions these days, but that's a whole other show I guess we can get into and stuff. But I would say that there might be something there to kind of take heed of and so forth. The other thing he talked about, which I think is really a big topic, and no one's really addressing it. Nobody on TV, nobody in Washington, nobody on the radio, nobody anywhere is really addressing. But when it comes right down to it, what are we doing? I mean, it's our kids that are going to have to deal with this. I mean, we're kind of compromising their future, as he said, to maintain our standard of living and our standard of income. And I think we need to have a solution. We need to come up with something that can change the course of that, because I think the kids now it's going to be the first generation maybe that won't be better off than their parents. I've read that some here place before recently and stuff like that. So if you got any ideas, let us know. 417-755-0700. Text Matt. You know, we'll run them up the flagpole to Washington, and we'll get her done. But obviously, Washington needs all the help it can get with ideas and stuff. I did see that Secretary Mnuchin yesterday was talking about bringing back a bond from the 80s that might help with the deficit. So I do know there's a few people that are, you know, kind of trying to work behind the scenes and get something going. But anyway, if you like that particular interview, it's Alex Menschke. That was on Kitco News. That's Kitco News. And, you know, I just found that he had a very good outlook, in my opinion. You may not agree, and that's fine. But I just think that, you know, there's some things going on that we need to pay attention to. Anyway, enough of that. I've got the prices. I've got the other things that I wanted to talk about. One thing I do want to share with you before we run out of time, and this is kind of proof of, you know, maybe your first impression isn't, or my first impression isn't the right impression, but if I can get it out of the bag here, I don't think I've shared this with you. Here in the last couple weeks, I got a new coin, and I will admit to you, when I first got this in the mail, I wasn't that excited. You know, I was kind of like, oh, why did they send that to me? And it's a company I've had on the show before, and it's kind of a coin of the month concept and so forth. But you know, it's like almost every passing day that goes by, I find I like this coin more and more. One thing I like about it is that it's 2 ounces of silver. It's not 1 ounce of silver like the American Gold Eagles. And I don't know if you can see this or not.
That's Japanese coin. Right?
China. And there was only 2,000 of these made. Now, for those of you that are into coin collecting, you know that's a very low mintage. In fact, you know, I got this and quickly went to the internet to see what it was going for, and there were people trying to sell this on the internet for like $300, which is definitely not what I paid for it. So, you know, I got a good price on it. This is the 2018 2-ounce silver coin. Let me read to you the little thing that came with it. This is the certificate of authenticity. I got number 1183. And each Dragon and Phoenix Bringing Prosperity silver commemorative metal coin contains 2 ounces of 99.999% pure silver. It is 50 millimeters in diameter, round shape with a square hole in the center. The obverse features the Great Wall of China with mountains and details. The material fineness, weight, and 2018. The reverse depicts Dragon and Phoenix around auspicious clouds. Worldwide mintage is 2,000 pieces. This is to certify that this commemorative is up to standard as its fineness and weight. And that's from the Shanghai Mint Company, Ltd. And like I said, when I first got it, I was like, I think I'm going to send it back. And I didn't. I mean, the little plastic case that it came in was cracked, so I had to notify the company, and within a week they had a new case for me and so forth. But it's just, I guess, evidence here that, you know, maybe that first impression isn't the one to go with. Because if like in my case, if I had done that, I probably would have sent it back and got something else. And actually, as the time goes by, I'm finding that I'm really liking it in my little collection, because it's the only coin I have from China. It's the only silver coin I have that's 2 ounces. And I don't think they're making any more of this. These are the 2018 China Phoenix and Dragon cash proofs, and so forth. So if you'd like more information, you know, as we always say, you know, give me a shout, 417-755-0700, and maybe don't make decisions, on your first impression only. You know, give it some thought and so forth, because as I said, I probably would have made a bad mistake there, just from an investment standpoint and everything. Okay, let's get into some pricing. Let's see what's going on out there in the world. Bitcoin. Now, since Alex talked about 5% in Bitcoin, and by the way, Bitcoin is very volatile. Trust me. I mean, there's some people in our audience that has no business having any Bitcoin. And, please don't take that as negative. It's just that it's not something for widows and orphans. I mean, it's for folks that understand the risk involved. It's very volatile, and I would not want somebody to go into Bitcoin and have a bad experience. But for the day, it's up 0.65. For the week, it's up 7.49. And this, by the way, its current price is $9,774.23. For the month, it's up 38%. And for the year, it's up 22.18. All told, since the very beginning of Bitcoin, which I think was 2011, it is up 9,220%. So it has had quite a run, and that's with its current price of 9,772. It had its halving, I think they called it, back earlier this month, and there was a lot of people looking at it thinking that might have a huge impact on the price, and it has drifted up. I mean, in the last month, it's up 40%. So, it's not for the faint of heart, but it is something that we've talked about from the beginning of the show that we would spend some time on because it is an alternative asset. Anyway, if you need help with Bitcoin or more information, let me know. I'd be happy to help. As far as the other things that we follow, there we go. Okay, now these prices I'm going to share with you are as of 9:43 this morning, Central Standard Time. And these first few are the precious metals that we've been talking about. And gold is $1,743 an ounce. Silver is up to $17.57 an ounce. Platinum is $866. Palladium is $2,217. And rhodium on the ask is $8,100. On the bid is $5,100. That's quite a spread, $3,000. And what that tells you is there's not very much volume there. There's not a lot of ounces of rhodium that are trading hands, so that's why the spread can be so wide. If you get into like silver, the spread's 10 cents. So that tells you there's a lot of trading going on in silver and everything. But if you think back, even at the turn of the year, the gold was in the 1400s and the silver was, I believe, at $12 and change. I could be off a few cents either way there. And, here's gold now at $17.43 and silver at $17.57. So, some of this stuff is going in the direction that we thought. Now, your base metals, copper is at $2.42 a pound. These prices are in pounds, not ounces like the precious metals. Nickel's at $5.62 a pound. Aluminum is 66 cents. Zinc is 91 cents. Lead is 75 cents. Uranium's up to $33.40. And crude oil is back up to $33.27 a barrel. Now, just think about it. Like 3-4 weeks ago, remember I came in here and oil had actually gotten into being less than zero. And, if you'd had some, what I call dry powder, if you'd had some cash reserves and could have stepped in and bought some oil futures at that point, you'd be sitting on some pretty nice profits at this point in time. Not that I'm encouraging you to, go do it now, but I mean, it's gone from a negative price. In fact, let me just see if it pans out here. It doesn't really give me a number, but I was hoping to have a month-to-date performance number. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's up 400 points so far. It's up to 24,607. And the NASDAQ's up 165 points. S&P's up 51 points and so far. So we just got a lot of volatility out there, which scares the bejesus out of me. I hope that's an okay word to use on an Axe Media radio show. It scares the tar out of me. Maybe that's a better way to say it, because, anytime you have so much volatility on just, an announcement. The day before yesterday, the market was up 900 points or something because some biotech company said they might have a cure for the COVID-19. And the market goes crazy. And then yesterday, there was a discouraging report on being able to come up with a solution. So the market went down, and now today it's up 400. So, it there again is not for the faint of heart, and that's why I'm putting the finishing touches on basically a new economy wealth strategy. And, I'll probably present that somewhere in the future on the show. I'll probably run it by Jim Whining and Dr. Paul Collins, just to, make sure that they're okay with what I say. As we've always said on this show, the views and so forth are not those of Axe Ministry. They're those of myself, Tony Hammock. And we just always like to be, full disclosure and so forth. But anyway, that's what's going on in the markets. And as far as the other things out there, I'm still working a lot with the insurance companies for annuities, which usually have some nice guarantees involved. A lot of the annuities pay interest only. Some of them are indexed annuities where there's a chance to benefit from an index going up. In no way are they a replacement for an equity position like in stocks or even a stock mutual fund, but they can provide a nice alternative to, say, like bonds and stuff as far as their potential return and limiting the downside risk. That's the thing, is folks that were in fixed annuities as this market rolled into March, and then March was terrible, they didn't lose any money. The way the indexed annuities work is you can't lose money, so they stopped at zero while everybody else kind of went below that. Now, on the flip side, when the market had the best April ever and went totally up, the upside was kind of, there was a ceiling there based on what kind of indexed annuity you had, whether there was a cap or a percentage that you got to participate, a participation rate. There we go. And so forth. But anyway, the rates I'm seeing out there right now, probably the best first-year rate is 4.35 on the 9-year multi-year guarantee from American National, and then the base rate is 2.35. So your effective yield is 2.57. The 7-year one actually has an effective yield of 2.59. So, just some interesting rates out there. They've got their Century Plus annuity is first year 6.85, base rate's 1.85, and so they have you first year to kind of get you involved, and then the rest of the time the base rate and so forth. Although they do have a lifetime income rider on that one, which is a fixed rate of 6%, and it goes for 10 years. So you've heard of the rule of 72. You can divide your interest rate, or what you are making on your money, into 72, supposedly, and it'll tell you how fast your money will double. So if you're getting 6%, you divide 6 into 72, 6 times 7, that would be... That'd be a good rate. I just had it a minute ago. Let me just make sure. I don't want to misquote anything because it sounds too good to be true in my head. 72 divided by 6. Yeah, so it'd take about 12 years to double your money on that one. Just food for thought there. And those lifetime income riders do come with a cost. The rider premium charge on that is 1%. So that's probably getting way too far into some of the minutia there and stuff. Another company that I do a lot of business with and I really like is, let me back up. Another kind of insurance policy that I really like is your index universal life policies. And the reason being is that they have the ability to participate in the indexes. They usually have a floor, so there again, you can't lose money. And there's a lot of folks that use the, what we call them IULs, Index Universal Life Policies, to create, a retirement income and a lot of other strategies and so forth. And there's a company out there that I like. It's called Kansas City Life. And they have a couple of Index Universal Lives that are very, very competitive. I mean, just to, excuse me, just to give you some rates here, for example. Excuse me. On one of theirs, the cap rate is 10%. The participation rate is 65%. Another one is 13% on the cap rate, and so forth. And by the way, those rates, the reason I wanted to mention them to you is just that those are some of the best rates in those categories that I've seen. I mean, there are other companies that have these IULs and so forth, but I just thought I'd kind of mention that because I've been paying more and more attention to some of their offerings. Here's one from Sagicor, 12% cap rate, 65%, easy for me to say, 65% participation rate. And then if you went with the high par strategy, it would be an 80% participation rate. So, just some interesting things out there. We kind of look for the the niches, if you will, as far as trying to provide value for our client base. The only other thing I can think of is looking at Matt and saying, how much time do we have, Matt?
What? Sorry.
How much time do we
We
have?
got 2 minutes.
2 minutes? I don't know if I could talk for 2 more minutes.
It's 9:52 right now,
Yep.
so 9:53. You can go ahead and call it a day if you want to. If you ran out of material.
No. We got.
Sorry, I was doing some stuff for the telethon.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Looking at stuff.
Well,
trying to figure
we
stuff
might go back over that because the telethon's kind of important for the next couple weeks here. What's the dates and the times and all that good stuff?
Well, let's see here. Let me pull this up. The dates are June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The 1st, we're not having any events. That's where we all get together and we do the planning and stuff like that. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, we have events going on. Now, the Wednesday, since this is Wednesday, we're going to talk about the Wednesday stuff. We're going to have the best show or program contest with 1 to 3 minute clips of each show and the competitors. And it'll be from our shows here on our network, which is Axe Media Group. But during the morning drive, we've got the talent show contest. We have time for 8 entries, 4 minutes apiece, and we still have some slots open for those of you who want to do it. Get a hold of us. Go to axemediagroup.com. There you can copy, paste, or just copy and right click and print the entry form. Get in touch with me. Pearson Matthew 622 at gmail.com.
Okay, Pearson Matthew.
Yeah, my name is Matt Pearson.
Yeah, but just you go real fast. Now,
Pearson Matthew 622 at gmail.com.
622.
And that's 2 T's.
2 T's. Who won the last telethon? Who won that talent show?
My son did, actually.
Is he participating in this one?
He's in Kansas City. I'm not aware at this point if he's going to or not.
Okay. What was his talent?
He played guitar. He wrote a song.
Oh. Okay.
And last minute, there was a surge of voters that voted for him last minute. And
so the reigning champion is not in town for the moment.
Well, that was a music competition. This is a talent show.
Okay.
The music competition from last year is what he won. Well, I think they consider that the talent show.
Okay.
But this year we got a talent show on Wednesday, and we have a Christian music competition on Monday.
Don't miss it. Be there or be square or something like that. Anyway, well, may your retirement years be golden. and may your day have a silver lining. I'll keep working on that. There's something there, I know. But thank you for tuning in. As always, we're grateful to Jim and Pam Whining and Dr. Paul Collins for making this all possible. And have a great day, folks. Be careful. Wear your masks. Stay inside if you can. And if you get out, just be very, very cautious. Thank you so much.
So may your days be golden and every cloud have a silver lining.
Ooh, I like that one.
So there you go.
There we go.
All right. Bye, everybody.